Hey there guys, and welcome back to Hursty Games, and welcome to a video about potential signings that I think each Premier League team should make. Now again, I know that a lot of things on this channel tend to be about the Premier League. It's just the league that I know the best out of all the major leagues, so it's the league I've gone with. Of course, if you want to see any other leagues or like big teams in particular, things like that, then let me know. Obviously I can give you my opinions on like QPR because it's the team I support, so I kind of have a good understanding and I see like every other game live because I go to the home games. But for now, let's talk about the Premier League team. So like I said, I've picked a player for each team. Let's have a little look through. I'm going to have like 4 on at a time, so that it's just, you know, it's not just cut. So hopefully that's okay. But let's jump into the first 4 teams. Okay, so I've done the teams alphabetically. So the first team we're going to look at is Lamar. Now, not all of these cards are going to have 1 to watch cards. I've just, out of the ones I picked, put the ones that would, I think, potentially get 1 to watch cards according to how EA does it and kind of how FIFA works. So at first, we've got Lamar at Arsenal. Now, I think Arsenal are in dire need of a new attacking player, especially, with the exit of Alexis Sanchez. Now, it's not been confirmed yet. By the time I'm filming it, it's almost guaranteed that he's going to Man United, but it's not confirmed yet. So I think Lamar would be a great signing. Obviously, he's French, and Wenger's got a lot of history with French players. But it's honestly whether at this point Lamar would kind of actually want to go to Arsenal in the nicest possible respect, because there's just something not right there at the moment. Something is not clicking. Obviously, they lost yesterday to Bournemouth. So I think they just, if anything, they need a morale boost, man. They need something to just like kick him up the arse. Wenger being a bit of a problem at the moment, maybe. I don't know. I'm never a big fan of get rid of the manager, but if that's what needs to happen at this point, then it's a possibility. But I think Lamar would be a great signing for them. Marcus Llorente, he's a youngster at Real Madrid. He's played a couple of times this season, I think mainly as a sub. But if Bournemouth could get the likes of him on loan, someone I think like a strong CDM. I noticed it a little bit yesterday. Midfield, they've got a bit of creativity. They don't have too much in the way of assisting the defence, in my opinion. And I think someone like Llorente could really bolster that. Maybe a bit out there to go for Llorente himself, but I think it would be a good option and somebody that they could maybe consider thinking about. At Brighton, I'm thinking about a loan deal for Ings. Now, Ings himself needs to get himself some game time and prove his worth. And Brighton, I think, need another striker. Someone, I don't know, in that kind of mixed region of got the experience, but not quite as old as I think it's Glenn Murray. I might be making that up. But I think Ings would be a really good option for both the player and for Brighton. So a loan deal for Ings I think would be really, really good. I'm probably saying this wrong, but I'm going to say Leonard or Leinard. I cannot remember the team he's from off the top of my head. I forgot what it's called. But it's a team in the French league. He's doing okay for himself. He's been there for quite a while. I think he joined in like 2013, I remember reading. But I think Burnley, similar kind of thing to the Bournemouth thing. They need another midfielder. This guy, however, a bit more creative. It's more of a creative midfielder. Burnley are very solid defensively, especially at the moment. They're sort of defending really, really well, and they're getting some decent goals in them as well. I just think that creativity in the midfield may be missing a little bit. They've got Defoe, who seems to be quite a creative player, but I think somebody as a bit more of a rotation, almost kind of like that Pirlo effect of great passer, great sort of mover of the ball. And I think Leinard could fall into that category. Again, a purchase might not be on the cards, but definitely an inquiry. I think somebody like that would be good for Burnley. Okay, so on to the next one, and we'll start off with maybe a bit of a controversial one. Iago Aspas. Now, he's scoring goals at a team that's not fantastic in the Spanish league, but he's getting himself the goals, and in FIFA at least, he's getting himself some special cards, and I think Aspas would be a great option. Now, Morata, I've said in the previous video, I don't think they need to get rid of Morata because I think Morata's just having a bad spell right now, and I think he's a very good finisher of the ball. He can score the goals. He's having a funny patch right now. Batshuayi, obviously, I don't think is too much of an option right now, but I rate Batshuayi as well. I think he's got great potential. But maybe getting in another striker who's proven his goal scoring in another league might put a bit of a rocket up their arses, those two guys, because they need a goal scorer. They need one. That's the only thing right now that I think is maybe holding Chelsea back. I looked at the entire team, and I did this with every team, and thought, what position are they maybe lacking in? They're not really lacking anywhere. I wouldn't even say they're necessarily lacking at striker, but they are maybe lacking goals right now. So you've got the likes of Hazard, who is contributing, does those kind of things. But I think they need an out-and-out striker that's going to kind of spur up the rest of the striking and the attacking team, because I think that's all it'll take. It'll take one person to start just banging in goals for fun, and the rest of them are going to go, wait, hold on a second, we're going to get left behind here if nothing changes. So I think Aspas might be a good shout, and I think he'd probably get a one-to-watch card if he did join. Up next, Crystal Palace with Van Leer. He's the second string keeper, I believe, at PSV. I don't think he's played this season. He played for them, I think it was the season before last, and I think he went out on loan or something like that. He's played the last couple of seasons, he's played quite a lot. This season, hasn't played a game. They got themselves a new keeper. I think it was, it might be Ajax. Oh my god. I might be making this up. It might be Ajax. Basically, the team he's at, he's not playing all that much. I've completely forgot. But he's not playing all that much. He's fairly young. I think he's like 24 or something like that. So even if it's just a loan deal, I think they need a new keeper. Hennessy and Speroni aren't cutting it right now, and Palace are in trouble if their form doesn't increase massively. I was thinking a striker because, as I said in the previous one, Benteke not scoring the goals. So a striker would also be an option, but I went with Van Leer just because I think the keeper issue is being not being assessed very much at Crystal Palace. So the striker thing is an obvious change, but I think Van Leer is a less obvious, but the keeper does need to change there. Everton, I think their main issue has been goals. They're conceding a lot of goals. Now, my friend Jack, Flawless Mistakes, on my previous one looking at downgrades, did mention about Everton players, and especially like the defenders and stuff. 100% agree. I would have put more players in, and if I did, I think Ashley Williams would have been in that lineup. But De Vrij, I think, if they could get him, obviously, they've still got, I think, a little bit of money from the Lukaku deal and stuff. They've got money at the club. I think if they could get themselves a top quality centre-back who is experienced in European football, and, you know, I think he'd be a great signing, and I think he'd get a one-to-watch card because at Lazio, he's doing well. I think they're in a European tournament this year, so that's one thing that might maybe outweigh a few things. But does he want to come back to English football? I cannot remember for the life of me where he was, but I'm fairly sure he was in an English team. It might be Chelsea. I might be making that up. Let me know in the comments because I'm sure you guys will know. I could just Google it afterwards, but let me know. But I think he would be a great kind of player to look at, and I think a strong central defender is something that they need. After him, we have Solanke. Again, this is another loan. I'm not saying purchase. I would say a loan deal to Huddersfield. Now, obviously, I've mentioned Ings, I've mentioned Solanke. They don't want to get rid of both. I don't think they'd do that. I don't think they get rid of both attacking options because, I mean, Solanke, I think, has played 14 times. I think most of them have been as a sub. Could be obviously cup games and stuff as well. I haven't kept up too much with what games it's in, but I think it was 14 appearances so far this season for Liverpool. That's not bad. That's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. He's at least getting some game time, but I think Huddersfield need another striker. Mooney, however it's said, isn't getting enough goals, plus he's had some injuries, so they haven't had their starting striker up as much as they would have liked. But I think Solanke, he's obviously proved enough to get to a club like Liverpool. I think he is a good goal scorer. I think he just gets himself into good positioning. But I would say that would be a really good move for both the player and the club as well. So Solanke potentially to Huddersfield. There are a couple of other maybe options, but I think the striker option is the biggest and most important at Huddersfield. Okay, up next we have Baba Rahman from Chelsea to Leicester. Again, this would probably be a loan deal. They don't seem to want to let go of Baba, so I think the loan deal would be a good option for them. I think defensively, fullbacks, they're a little bit lacking, not necessarily in quality. I've never been a massive fan of Danny Simpson. Fuchs, I think, is starting this season to show his age just a little bit, getting caught pace-wise by quite a few players. And I think Baba would be a good option at either left-back or right-back. Plus, it's a position that Chelsea do have in abundance right now. I don't think they're going to drop the likes of Alonso, like Moses, or like those kind of players. They've got a lot of wide players that are playing very, very well for them right now. So I think Baba would be up for a loan deal because he probably wants some game time himself, and I think Leicester are a team in need of that. Next to him, we have Farman from Liverpool. Going to Liverpool from Schalke. Again, there are a few positions that maybe at Liverpool, but the big thing I would say, I don't think Liverpool need to replace Coutinho. Now, I could be starting a few issues with people there. I don't think they do. I think Sadio Mane, people are saying, oh, one season wonder, I think that's nonsense. I think Sadio Mane is more than good enough to step up to what Coutinho did. Different kind of player, 100%. But in the game you saw yesterday, if you did see it, the Man City-Liverpool game, a lot of people are talking about it because it was a fantastic game. Mane was fab. Mane was so good. I was considering looking at a left-back. But you know what? If Robertson plays as well as he did yesterday, I don't think they need to worry too much about a left-back. They've got Milner, who doesn't want to play there but can play there. But I think Robertson is a really good shout. He's a really good player and he really proved himself at the game yesterday. So I would say their biggest issue is a goalkeeper. I think Karius was a great signing and I thought he was going to do really, really well for them. He hasn't stepped up to the plate right now. He really hasn't. But if someone like Farman comes in, I would anticipate the likes of Mignolet or Karius either being pushed out on loan or even sold. And if Mignolet does go, he could end up at a team like Crystal Palace. I mentioned before they might need a keeper. That could be a really good signing for them. But Farman, with a potential one to watch in my opinion for Liverpool. Next up, probably the biggest signing out of all of these ones, and it was actually one of the hardest to pick because honestly, I don't think Man City really need many more players. There's a few players that maybe are nearing the end of their career, you'd argue, and I think Nainggolan is so versatile anywhere in that midfield. You know, defensive, sort of in the middle, up like attacking. He's so versatile, and I think he would absolutely light up the Premier League. Can you imagine him and De Bruyne in a middle partnership in that midfield? That would be absolutely ridiculous. The only reason I kind of thought Nainggolan is because obviously CDM wise at Man City, they've got good players. They're a little bit older. You've got the likes of maybe Yaya Toure, who's a bit more CDM now than sort of centre mid in his like getting a little bit older. Fernandinho doing very well for them, but again, age is creeping up on him. Nainggolan that little bit younger. He could sit in that CDM position and then drive forward, kind of like the Kante thing of get the ball and then just go. And my word, if this happened, firstly, his card would be so expensive. Secondly, he would get a one to watch, which would also be so expensive. And thirdly, it would kind of break the game. I still want it to happen. That would be mad. But after him, I've gone with Delict or Delight, don't know how it's said. I'm going to say Delict because that to me makes sense. To potentially go into Man United. Now, he's really proving himself in the Eredivisie right now. I think he's got great potential. I've watched some of the games and stuff he's played, and you know what? He looks insane. He looks so good. Now, I could have put Sanchez in here. I didn't want to, purely because I think it's almost a done deal. So I kind of wanted to do a deal that I think they need. Plus, I don't think the Sanchez deal to United would be that great for United. He's a great player, sure, but it's pushing the likes of Rashford down the pecking order, Martial, who are both starting to kind of find a bit of form now, especially Martial, who's playing really, really good football. If the likes of Sanchez comes in, one of those will definitely be dropped a lot more. And I personally think they're really starting to build up something at Man United for the future. So I went with Dalit, because also defensively, couple of issues right now, especially in that centre-back position. Chris Smalling, I think, is a little bit suspect. Jones, when he's playing, which isn't very often, a little bit suspect. I think Bailly has got great potential and has great potential to be a great player, but needs another season or two, I think, to get under his belt. And I think Delict would be the kind of same thing. Start off maybe a little bit shaky. It's like the Lindelof effect. He hasn't played that many games, but I think when he does, he'll prove his worth. But that's that four. That's a big four as well. Big four. Okay. Down the pecking order a little bit now. So we had some really, really big players. These ones I think are slightly more crucial to the team. We've got Scuffit from Udinese, not playing much football because they signed a new keeper, and has great potential. I think he's got really good potential to be a good keeper. And I think Newcastle at the moment need a goalkeeper. I think they really, really need one. It's like the Crystal Palace thing. I think Newcastle needs to get a keeper. I think it just needs to happen. And Scuffit would be a great option. He's got great potential. When he has played at Udinese, he's done pretty well. And I think Newcastle could really do with a new keeper. And I think he'd be a really good shout. Quite young as well. I think he's like 21 or something, so he'd be a good option. Dendoncker to Southampton. The only reason I went with centre-back is because obviously losing Van Dijk, and I don't think they've got too many other strong options at centre-back. Dendoncker normally I think plays in the middle of the field at Anderlecht. But you know what? defensively, I think would be insane. I know he has played some games at centre-back there. He got an inform centre-back card there as well. He could have maybe got a one to watch if this does happen as well, because he's got such great potential and is proving himself in the Belgium League right now. But I think Dendoncker would basically be a like-for-like replacement for Van Dijk. I think he'd come in and would run the show defensively. And I think that would be a fantastic signing. I think he's possibly due an upgrade as well, so could potentially be like an 80-81 rated player in the game. But I think for Southampton would be a big acquisition. Stoke was a tricky one because I think they've got quite a few issues there right now, but I went with Vogt. I think he will do a great job. I think he's a good, solid defender. I stuck in the German league because I think those are the kind of defenders that would suit Stoke. But I thought someone with a bit of pace, bit of strength, and Vogt was the choice. Next to him, Moore, a tricky one because Swansea, again, a lot of issues. I went with someone a little bit cheaper because I don't know what their budget is right now, but attacking, they've got good players. They need to get them in forward. Defensively, I think they're lacking. So I think Liam Moore would be a great signing for them. Plus, it would be helpful for us for him to not be at Reading. Okay, now down to the final four, the last four teams in the Premier League. This first card, I don't want to happen purely because it will ruin the game. Everyone will then be able to get Lozano in their teams, and I don't want that. I get enough of them in the weekend league paired up with the Icon Hernandez, and that's enough for me. But if Irving Lozano got a move to Spurs, because it's the only position I kind of thought they're maybe lacking. They've got incredible forwards, the likes of Kane. When Son plays, he's great there. But Son's also versatile on the left-hand side. They've got strong defence. They've got strong midfield. I think if they wanted like a right winger for if they're going to play wide players, I wouldn't want them to push the likes of Eriksen out there because I think he'll be wasted. So I looked at Lozano and he just jumped straight out at me, and I think that would be an insane card. If he went, he'd get a one to watch because that's what EA do. They hate us and they want us to spend all of our money, and he'd definitely get a one to watch card. Watford, I looked at Moussa Dembele from Celtic. Now, I don't think the move will necessarily happen if they went in for him because he's so important at Celtic, but I think he's definitely the kind of player they would need. I think Gray hasn't quite hit the form they expected him to hit. They've got good players out wide, Richarlison doing really well for himself, and I think Deeney's a little bit off the ball right now, so I would say Dembele would be a fantastic signing for them. I've got Grigg potentially going to Albion, West Brom. I think it'd be a good option for them. Again, financially, I don't think they can go out for a big player. Grigg really doing well in League One. I know it's a much lower league, but you've got the likes of Robson Carney there, who they've kind of pulled up from a lower league and has kind of proved himself. But Rondon isn't doing the work. They need another striker, and I don't think they can afford to go big again because they are in trouble, and they probably want to look at a player that, worst case scenario, if they do stay right at the bottom of the league, it's going to be a player that does want to stay regardless of what happens. And I think Grigg would happily go to West Brom, obviously going up from League One. But I think he's a goal scorer. He does get goals, so I think Grigg would be a good option. And the final player, West Ham, I think maybe a potential loan deal for Zappacosta. He's moved into the Premier League, hasn't played too much. I don't know too much about him because I just haven't seen him play that much. But as I said before, I think Chelsea have a lot of wide players playing very good football right now. They have a lot of options, and he has kind of just drifted down the pecking order purely because there are so many players at Chelsea they're not going to drop right now. So I think a loan deal, it would just be for like this half of the season, would really help them out. Zabaleta really hasn't hit too much form. I know West Ham are doing a little bit better now, but that's mainly because they're getting goals and they're creating attacking chances, not because they're defending really well. So I would say that he would be a great option, potentially, to go to West Ham. But that, boys, is my final list of players. I've gone through everyone. Let me know what you think, because I've made one player for each team that I think would be like the most important position, somebody that's somewhat affordable or achievable, for both the selling team and the buying team. But let me know what you think. Hopefully you do agree. Leave a like if you have enjoyed this. Comment, like I said, down below for any other leagues or teams or anything like that you want to see me do. And of course, subscribe if you're new around here. But for now, boys, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Look after yourselves.